Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the 2022 Pennsylvania gubernatorial election and why I think Josh Shapiro, the Democrat, is favored to win this race in one of the only races that I think the Democrats are going to do well in November. So with this video, I think we should get right into it right now. I don't have a ton of time on my hands as I'm recording this. I just kind of want to get through this video and just look at this race and give you the best analysis I can in under 10-minute time frame, I want to say. So we're going to do that right now. So Josh Shapiro, for those of you who don't know, is currently the Attorney General of Pennsylvania. And I should actually pull up his electoral history right now because he is a pretty impressive candidate for the Democrats to be putting up here. Because in 2020, Josh Shapiro won this race by a little under 5%. He did very well in a lot of regions that have been trending away from Democrats. He won Erie by a pretty substantial margin. He won Luzerne County, which is a county that Biden actually lost by 14%, so there's quite a bit of ticket splitting in that area. He won Lackawanna big. He won the Allentown, Wilkes-Barre, Northampton area very well there. He also did well in the suburbs. He won Chester, Montgomery, and Bucks, which is the Philly Caller. He won Dauphin, home of Harrisburg. He won Center County, which is home to the University, or Penn State University. And he won, obviously, Allegheny County, home to Pittsburgh. So he did very well. He outran Biden. He outran every other Democrat. And he is the best candidate the Democrats could have run this race, aside from Tom Wolf or Bob Casey. But Casey's currently already in the Senate. And Tom Wolf is really the governor of Pennsylvania. His term does not expire until later, or until January of next year. So he could have ran, but he did not want to, I don't think, especially because he's still technically governor of the state. And, Josh Shapiro has got a lot of Democrats excited about this race because he has the ability to win elections. He overperformed in 2020, and he did this despite the fact that he actually was someone who, wasn't really super high profile in Pennsylvania. He wasn't, well-known or well-liked even. It's just that he knows how to run a campaign. He knows how to appeal to voters that might have gone the other way at the presidential level. And that's why he did so well here, and that's why I think that he is the best candidate the Democrats could have fielded in this race. Now, for the Republicans, Doug Mastriano, let's talk about him too. So, unlike Shapiro, I do not think that he is the best candidate that his party could have fielded. Mastriano is very outspoken for his conspiracy theories. He is he does not believe the 2020 election was legitimate, which we're not going to get into here because I've talked about this 27,000 times. But when you're taking positions like that, especially in a state like Pennsylvania that actually did vote for Joe Biden, and where I'm sure that the majority of Pennsylvanians believe the election was fair and that it was not a conspiracy to steal the election from Donald J. Trump. And so Mastriano has been a proponent of those theories, and he was actually at the Capitol on January 6th when the insurrection happened. It's unclear whether he was actually part of the insurrection, in fairness to him, but he was there. So when asked about this, he actually said he was there to cheer on Congress overturning the election because he thought the election was going to be overturned on January 6th, which either is a lack of political acumen because it was not going to be overturned, or it is just an excuse. I don't know which. I am not going to be the judge of that right now. I'll have to see later when more stuff comes out, but he has a lot of Republicans worried about this race. He has some fans. There are a lot of people who really like Doug Mastriano who are on the, what some people might call the extreme right, who really like Mastriano, but he has a lot of Republicans in the party itself worried. The party itself tried to rally around his primary opponent, Lou Barletta, because Barletta, Barletta wasn't even that good in the first place. He wasn't a Josh Shapiro-esque candidate. He ran for Senate in 2018, lost by 13 points. He was not a big, winner, honestly. And they rallied around him. They tried to convince Bill McSwain and the other gentleman running in there, and Dave White to drop out and endorse Barletta. They did not. And Mastriano won the primary with just over 42% of the vote. So he won with a plurality, and that I think has a lot of Republicans shaking their head because they could have beaten him had they all coalesced around Lou Barletta, because Barletta and his opponents combined for more of the vote than Doug Mastriano had. So certainly the Republicans are nervous about this, and when you look at the RGA statement that they put out after Doug Mastriano won the primary, the day after, on Wednesday, it seemed like they weren't very enthusiastic about, having to spend money on his race. So that leads me to think that they might do some internal polling here that we won't see, or that will be harder for us to see, and they'll do one of two things. If their internals confirm that he is down to Josh Shapiro and that he's right now not in a good spot, they will not try to save him. They might just pull out of Pennsylvania. They might just say, nope, we're going to go to Arizona, Georgia, New Mexico, Michigan, Wisconsin, Kansas. We're going to go to the races that we think are more competitive than this, and then just cut our losses here and just let the Democrats have this one race. And believe it or not, that has happened in the past. In 2018, the GOP just dropped out of Ohio in terms of fundraising. They stopped giving money to Jim Renacci to try to beat Sherrod Brown, because it was just evident that despite the fact that Ohio was a red state, he couldn't have beaten Sherrod Brown. Sherrod Brown was a really popular incumbent. He was pulling ahead, and the GOP were like, no, we're not going to waste money in this race, and they pulled out of Ohio. And we might see a similar thing here, and we could very well, honestly, see a scenario in which the GOP just leaves Mastriano out to dry, and he just kind of has to do it on his own, which would be unfortunate for him, but it would be great news for the Democrats, because they'll be spending a lot of money trying to bolster Josh Shapiro, because they do not want Doug Mastriano to be the governor of Pennsylvania. Doug Mastriano is, he has said that he will, this is a quote from him, he said, because he gets to appoint a Secretary of State who manages elections, he said that he would potentially use his power to put in electors in Pennsylvania that would vote for the Republican no matter what, because, again, he thinks the election was stolen from Donald Trump. I think he's more, genuinely speaking, I think there is a belief among many people that he is more interested in getting Republicans elected in his state than actually having a free and fair election. And so that just, I think that worries a lot of Democrats and worries a lot of independents, and that's why I don't think he's a good candidate. I just, there are a lot of people who really like him, but those people would have voted for the Republicans anyways. So with all that being said, I really do think that Mastriano is not in a good spot. He could win, again, this is not a safe Democratic race. People treat it like it's a safe Democratic race on Twitter. I don't really think it is. I think it's certainly a race that is very competitive, and the ratings here, Politico, RCP, and Fox have it as toss-up, but when you look at Cook, Inside Elections, or Sabato, which Sabato's probably the best, they've got a lean D in, if you want to add the unbiased election predictions ranking, I'd say it's lean Democratic as well, maybe tilt Democratic, but I think closer to lean Democrat than toss-up. I think that Josh Shapiro would win by 2 or 3%, so when you look at Biden's victory, it wasn't that impressive. He won by 1.2%, and 2020 is going to be a better environment, or 2020 will likely be a better environment for Democrats than 2022 will. But when you look at what Biden did, he actually didn't do that well in Pennsylvania. He did well in the suburbs, but he dropped in Philadelphia. He did worse than Clinton in the city itself. He didn't do that great. He had all right in Allegheny, but he didn't do that great in Pittsburgh. He flipped Erie, but bare minimum. It's in Scranton, he did okay because his hometown, but when you look at the areas surrounding Scranton, it was really bad for Biden, and Biden lost ground in the rural areas. Biden didn't do well with working class voters, so Trump came really close in Pennsylvania despite all the obstacles he had, and that's why I think a lot of people are long-term doubting on the Democrats' ability to win Pennsylvania. But Shapiro, I think for now at least, it's still 2022. It's not 2035. It's 2022. Josh Shapiro demonstrates that he can do well in Pennsylvania. So I'll show my prediction right now on screen. I do think that Josh Shapiro will win 13 of Pennsylvania's 67 counties in this race. But again, don't let that deceive you. 13 of 67 is good for a Democrat because he will be winning most of the large counties in the state. In fact, all 3 of the largest counties will be voting for him here. As you can see, the big population centers, Lackawanna, home to Scranton, will be voting for him. Philadelphia County, home to the city of Philadelphia, will be voting for him. And then Allegheny, home to Pittsburgh, will be voting for him in this prediction. So yeah, now we can go through this briefly. The 6 deep blue counties here are Philadelphia and Delaware, which are just the city of Philadelphia. Montgomery and Chester. Montgomery was a Biden plus 25 county, mostly suburban parts of Philly itself, but it's a deep blue county. I think he'll win it by a similar amount. Chester was won by Biden by 17. I think Shapiro wins it by about the same, maybe a little more against Mastriano. The trends in Chester are really good for Democrats, and Mastriano, I think, exacerbates the loss of the GOP. The GOP are getting long term here. Dr. Oz or McCormick, we don't know who will be the nominee yet, which is crazy. But I think both of them would outrun Mastriano by a lot here. So Chester, I think, goes to Shapiro by 18, maybe 19. 20 max, I think, though. 15 to 20 kind of range there. Center County, home to... Actually, sorry, I meant to put that as likely. Center County is home to Penn State. It was a Biden plus 5 county, and I think that, because of online learning, turnout was down from in the past with this being a college town, and so I think that is enough for Shapiro, with that turnout boost with school being back in person. I think that's good for the Democrats. Allegheny, home to Pittsburgh, obviously quite blue. And then you're going to look at the likely Democratic counties. So this is Dauphin, which is home to Harrisburg, the capital of Pennsylvania. In 2020, when you look at how well Josh Shapiro did, he did very well in Dauphin. It is this blue shade, and that shade of blue correlates that he got a majority in Dauphin County. In 2020, Biden also got a majority. He got 54% of the vote. Shapiro did actually run ahead of Joe Biden. By how much, I don't know, but he did run ahead of Joe Biden in Dauphin County, so I think he wins it by a pretty good amount in 2022. Then you're looking at Lackawanna, and I'll be honest, I don't know the name of this other county. Monroe. So this is Monroe, Northampton, and then Lehigh. These are all blue leading counties, but I think Monroe specifically and Lehigh, which were both Biden plus 6 and Biden plus 8 counties, I think that they go for Shapiro by a little more. Shapiro probably wins them both by 10, maybe 12, because Mastriano, again, Mastriano's from down here. He's from a deep red state Senate district. Shapiro did very, very well. He actually won Matt Cartwright's district, so he's a Cartwright level outperforming. Like, this region is his hotspot right here. He will do really well here. He'll overperform John Fetterman, he'll overperform Joe Biden, he'll overperform Hillary Clinton, and so I think that that's enough to carry him to victory here. And so he'll do well in these counties. Northampton, I think he'll do a little better than Biden as well. Then you got Bucks County, which is a hot take here. So Bucks County voted for Joe Biden by 4% in 2020. It's just the Philly suburbs. It's quite competitive. It will go to the Republican Party occasionally, but it is a Democratic-leaning county. And so there is hope for Republicans, especially if it's a McCormick versus Oz matchup, that they can win this county in the Senate race. But I think no matter what happens in the Senate race, at the gubernatorial level, I do think that Josh Shapiro will win this county by probably 6, maybe 7%, because Mastriano, I think, scares the living daylights out of a lot of moderate suburbanites who might have even voted for Donald Trump in 2020. I know people who voted for Donald Trump in 2020 who are now going to be voting Democrat in the midterms. Whether it's because of issues like January 6th, the election, people thought, some Republicans claiming the election was stolen or whatever. And I think that does result in some suburban losses for the Republicans where they're going to be hit hard, like in Pennsylvania. So Bucks County will, I think, vote for Josh Shapiro. So those are the Shapiro counties. That's enough to get him to, I think, I don't know how big the third party is going to be in this race, but I think he wins by 2.5 kind of range. But when you look at Mastriano's counties briefly here, so I'm being generous to him in Luzerne, because Luzerne was a county that Shapiro carried by a couple points, despite the fact that it was a Biden plus 14 county. So he's a 20-point overperformer in this county, roughly. And so if he did that again, he'd win again. But I don't think he overperforms by that much. I think he loses it by about 10 to Mastriano, because it's still a midterm, it's still a red wave, it's still a year where Republicans are getting a boost. Because this isn't a blue wave versus 2020. I think Mastriano loses by 7 or 8. But yeah. But luckily for Shapiro, national partisanship in Pennsylvania is a little scaled down anyways, but that's besides the point. So I think that in Luzerne, I think it'll be an improvement for Mastriano over the GOP opponent to Shapiro in 2020, but it won't be a great showing. This is Berks County. Berks County 2 is Philly suburbs, and it's quite red, though. It was a county that Joe Biden ended up losing in 2020 by about 8%. But I think it narrows up. I think Shapiro can cut that margin in half, maybe 4 or 5 point margin of victory for Doug Mastriano. And then when you look at Lancaster County, which is another pretty red county, which was, it voted for Trump by about 16, I think it narrows up, Mastriano plus 12, Mastriano plus 13. But, yeah, that's it, I think, for the competitive counties. But this is my county prediction. You can come back to it in November if I'm right or wrong or whatever. But I do think Shapiro's the favorite to win this race. I think he's going to do very well, and I expect the Republicans to, I think, have a bit of hesitancy when it comes to Pennsylvania governorship. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.